Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. My name is Dana Kalish. I'm a graduate assistant here at Southern Department of Information and Library Science. And we are so excited to have Dr. Carl Antonucci here today. He's the director, the library director at Central Connecticut State University. And he wrote a book on leadership, and we are eagerly waiting to hear more about that. So, welcome. Come on up, Dr. Carl Antonucci.
Thank the library school. I'm on the board, and I'm very proud to be here. And I want to thank Dana and Nicola for helping me tonight, and Kay, who I met before. So thanks for coming, and hope can just give you a few things. And I want to use this also as a learning experience for me, just to get some feedback afterwards, not to just hear a talking head, to kind of open it up to some conversation. And the main thing what I want to talk about is a little bit about the book, but what I want to get into is library leadership, and you're from different, maybe libraries, you want to go into different types of libraries, the changing landscape of libraries, and to show how we're becoming more community-minded now in the library in the 21st century. And what we're trying to do at Central, and I tell you some things tonight, we don't succeed at everything, believe me, and there's a conference that ACRL New England is putting on, and it tells you to submit something that you failed at. So it's a failure conference, but you can learn from failure. So there's a few things we're doing, but I don't want you to think by any stretch of the imagination that we're as successful at everything. I just got an IMLS grant application back, and we didn't get it again. So you get that rejection. So it's just, but I say that everything is like a pilot, I tell the staff. So if they do well, they'll take credit, and if they don't, you can blame me. But so if you could change the slide. That's just the book that one of my colleagues that I edited. This is just a little bit about my background. I'm getting older, been in library services, higher education since '93. Also, my leadership abilities. I'm the Connecticut Chapter Councilor to the American Library Association. I'm the co-chair of our legislative committee for Connecticut Library Association. That's kind of important because we try to get money for our state databases. Who's used the research at databases before for some of your papers? You might not even know you're using those, but that's part of the statewide data that we advocate for. I was past president of the Connecticut Library Association, and I served twice as the chair of the board of the Connecticut Library Consortium. My doctorate's in history, and I have my master's in library science from Simmons. My dissertation's on politics in Providence, Rhode Island. And my other areas of interest include Italian-American studies, and I'm currently working on another critical biography of an Italian-American poet, Pascal D'Angelo, that was kind of a self-taught poet. He taught himself how to read and write with a 25-cent Webster's dictionary, and ended up writing his autobiography in 1924. So can you change the next slide? So what I want to talk about tonight is what we called in the book, and we had some great writers from across the country contribute to our volume. We work with Rowman Littlefield, a major publisher of they do a great library science text, and I worked with the editor Charles Harmon, who was a real taskmaster, and Charles kept us going on this. But we call it kind of triple threat librarians, and what I'm going to say for the folks that want to go into the field nowadays, what I think you have to be is an entrepreneur, a leader, and a technologist. And how the book came about was that one of my staff members, Sharon Clapp, is really high into library technology. Myself, as the years have gone by and I did more administrative work, and I wish I had more time to keep more familiar with the technology, I'm end up looking at budget and spreadsheets, and if there's a leak in the library, and running the Burritt Library. So, but she was a technologist, and we kind of talked about some of the things we were doing in our library, trying to be more entrepreneurial. And we're not going to take big risks, but we're taking some risks to get the library more into the community and leadership. So there was a LITA conference that we went to in 2014, and we presented this. There was Lisa Carlucci Thomas, so I don't know if you remember, she used to work here at the library. She presented with us on entrepreneur aspect of her own self-startup business, and Sharon presented on the technology side, and I presented on the leadership side of the triple threat librarians. And then they asked us after this, well, maybe you guys want to do a volume on it. Lisa dropped out, was busy, and so Sharon and I took it on, and we got some experts in the field to contribute it. We had Maureen Sullivan, the past president of ALA, write the introduction for the book, and Jim Neal, ALA president, now also read the book and did a little blurb for it. So can you change the slide? Thank you. So this guide, and I don't want to go too much into it. Hopefully you can pick a copy up. I know your library has some copies, and it's been successful. But the guide, it'll enhance traditional library leadership literature by highlighting on how these skills, leadership, entrepreneurship, and technology are platform skills for librarians working at all levels during what we call the disruptive times with this technology. It will also show how experienced colleagues have successfully created positive changes for themselves, their patrons, and their libraries as leaders, entrepreneurs, and technologists in the changing libraries of the 21st century. So you can click on the link. I thank you, Dana, for doing this. And this is a library journal review that came out on October 23rd. So can you just arrow down to the bottom of that? There we go. So what it says here, the entrepreneurial spirit and librarianship is defined not by taking considerable financial risk of operating a new and untried business, but by shaking up the traditional organizational model. That's what I want to talk about tonight, where you can shake some things up and not take too much of a risk. But at risk is the very character of the library. These are questions that the reviewer wrote that she reflected on the book. I reflect on them a lot. Is it a library if there are no physical books? What if there is no dedicated physical location? The librarian entrepreneurs haven't quite reached that level of disruption, but those questions are in the air as large physical collections shrink. And I see this in my library. We got our expert library faculty. Maybe we can talk about this later on as well about this. And library buildings they're dedicated to other uses. And I see that all the time. We have on our third floor of the library, now we have classrooms. And I said, this is going to disrupt the whole library. But I think it's the best thing we've ever done, because now we get students that would have never used that library into the library every day, and they're using the other services. So we might even, it's crazy I say it, but we might even say, well, keep the classrooms there. Because we have faculty I haven't seen in years coming into the library because of that. But she made the verdict recommended reading for all librarians. So that wasn't me trying to self-promote a book, because we get very little in royalties as the faculty knows it. But it's just good because there are some experts that wrote to this. And that's Margaret Sylvia from St. Mary's University Library in San Antonio. So that's kind of what the book kind of talked about, with some actual case studies. And I had Brad Eden from Valparaiso University wrote a chapter, and I wrote a chapter for him when he wrote this book, Leading the 21st Century Academic Library. So Brad's been a library, and he wrote some good things in the book about how you lead a 21st century library. So next slide. And it's five.
If you go up to the present button, up at the next to share, next to the blue button there.
We thank you guys for technology. You guys helped me convert this over to this.
Just,
Okay. So I want to talk tonight about the 21st century library. And one of the ALA initiatives, as some of us know, is the Libraries Transform. So I really took that to heart when I tried to lead my library, the Libraries Transform. And we're going to talk about that in a minute. But it started a new initiative, the ALA. One of the main ideas is to show the 21st century library is less about physical resources, which I love too. As being a historian, I love the physical archival resources. We have to have them. We make a good mix. But it's more about, I think, the value of librarians and how they engage with people in the communities where they work. And I really took that to heart, and I try to get our librarians to do it. I'm going to show you some project that we're embarking on, myself and some of my library team members, that's going to illustrate this. But this is where I see that the libraries are going today. Not that we're going to close all the way down. We need librarians, but we want to engage more with the people in the communities where they work. And if you could click on that slide, just to show and just arrow down, because transformation is essential to the communities we serve. You might have seen these large posters around. Keep arrowing down. Just want to show you right here that this is in the ALA. This is because libraries make leaders. They have all of these. You can order them from ALA. Hang them in your library. If you can keep arrowing down, thank you. And if you can just show that little clip right here. So I want to show you what the campaign's about if you haven't seen this. But technology, keep up with the technology, transform to prevent information overload. We don't want that to happen. this is a good little clip to create opportunities for people in the community and our students from places where culture is downloaded to places where it's uploaded. Business incubators, I'll talk about that later in the presentation as well. Career centers, and just to kind of transform. And that's the community buzzword, community again. That's good to kind of spark, conversation with your own library community, even if you're on public library boards or academic libraries, to see what could happen. And so you can take it back to the next slide. Thank you so much for it. Okay, so now I want to just talk a little bit about 21st century librarian. Librarians today provide added value to the patrons they serve by 5 key areas, and I put this in the preface of the book: education, employment, entrepreneurship, empowerment, and engagement of the library's Transform Initiative. In order to ensure that the library satisfy the 21st century learning and research needs of its community of learners, librarians are involved in innovative programs and initiatives that would have never taken place in traditional libraries of the past. Like I was just talking with Matt before, we got down on our first floor of the library a regular Starbucks franchise. It just doesn't serve Starbucks, it's a whole blown. It makes noise, but it's great. The students love it. Gets them in the library. We would have never done that before. I remember when I first started as a young reference librarian, having the police if you had coffee like this. You couldn't have this, they'd throw it away, and we had to do that. And then we had staff meetings about it because some staff would have forced it, some wouldn't, and students would get mad. Oh, when so and so was here, they said I could have food in. So, but now that's just one example. There's so many things that we do that we have not done in the past. And I'm getting my librarians involved in things that they were never involved in the past. Like we have a university assessment committee. Now I hired an assessment librarian. I put the librarian on the committee, and the chair of the committee told her right out, well, why is a librarian here? What do you have to do with assessment? But after that, he ordered a letter for her tenure portfolio. He said, I was wrong. And I know you're doing a lot of assessment here, Gail, at the, and all at the library. And so it's very, very important, but we were never in those arenas before. So we're getting there, and it would never have taken place before. Next slide. There's another thing I want to talk to you about today, also to promote the 21st century library. It's called the Excite Transformation for Libraries. And collaboration, innovation, transformation, and again, entrepreneurship. And we're involved in this. The state library received a grant. If you could turn the slide again, I just wanted to show you that. And if you could go to the last link, the media space link, I just wanted to let the video talk to you about it. We had to apply for this grant, and we were granted this to work with the state library, but this was our application.
My name is Carl Antonucci, and I'm the Director of Library Services at the Burritt Library at Central Connecticut State University. And my responsibilities are the day-to-day operations of the library. And I work with the great staff to run the library here at the university for our students, faculty, and staff.
My name is Kristen D'Amato. I'm the Serials and Electronic Resources Librarian at Central Connecticut State University. And my current work responsibilities include serials and electronic resources collection development and managing the access to these collections. I also develop methods of marketing these resources to our campus community.
I am Christina Edwards. I'm the acquisitions librarian here at Central Connecticut State University. My responsibilities include paying the bills and buying new book material for our collections. I also work collaboratively with my colleagues to evaluate and assess our current library collections. I also participate in some library assessment, as well as evaluating and using some of the library data.
Hi, I'm Martha Curry. I'm a reference, instructional, and assessment librarian at Central Connecticut State University.
Hi, my name is Susan Slegomativier, and I'm head of the Reference and Instruction Department here at CCSU. And I teach a lot of single library sessions for different classes that are working on research assignments. Cover the reference desk to help people who have individual questions that need help with assignments. I'm also part of an embedded librarian program with several English 110 or freshman composition classes. I've also put together video tutorials for our history department. And my colleagues and I have been involved with different programs to help the community as far as instructing high school students and providing workshops at public libraries.
Here at Central Connecticut State University at the library, we've been trying to become a true 21st century library. And part of that is to break down what I call break down the walls of the academic library and get out onto the campus community as well as the community of New Britain. And my team and I here at the library, we want to learn some techniques on how to do this better. And for many years, I've worked with the Connecticut Library Association and the state library, and I've seen many innovative programs that the public libraries put on throughout the state, and I'm very impressed with them. And I want our team to go through the training so that we can put on some more innovative programs here at the library.
The Excite program, actually, when I first heard about it, instilled a great deal of fear as well as excitement in me after hearing about the program. Scared because it looks like an awful lot of work, but very excited because at the end of the day, even though it's a lot of work, I'll definitely feel more confident about the decisions that I make in terms of creating and providing new services for our library.
I've been reflecting on my teaching abilities and my students' learning outcomes recently, and a lot of what I hear from my students are that the research methods are dry and there are communication gaps, and there's a general lack of curiosity among my students, and I think that the innovation and collaboration part of the Excite program would be very helpful in changing those negative attitudes towards library instruction.
The training offered by the Excite program is appealing to me because I've actually had the opportunity to be a project lead for several initiatives at our library, and I think the leadership skills and the project management skills that this training will offer would really help to enhance the initiatives that I participate in, which would lead to better results for our patrons.
I hope that we can bring some of the training that we learned back to the whole staff at the library. Also looking forward to working with the team together throughout these exercises to become more of a team, and also again to learn some of the techniques to position ourselves to become more of an asset to our community, both on the campus and again in the city of New Britain.
I really like that this program is centered around identifying community needs and engaging patrons. I think that this could help to develop a more successful e-resources marketing program here. We've been pretty successful with developing programs for the students, but faculty are a bit more of a challenge. And I think that with this training, I would like to learn to identify opportunities for programming that would respond to faculty needs and build stronger relationships between librarians and teaching faculty.
I hope to bring better and more innovative ideas to assist me with instructing CCS students or students from schools in the area. Also with programs that we sometimes do with the general public, and to improve and expand on some of the events that we do here at the library.
Personally, my professional interests include financial literacy, and my hope is that after going through this training, I'll be able to work better with the faculty and students here on campus to create better programs around financial literacy so that students that come here to Central will have a better idea of how to deal with their personal finance issues.
I just want the perception of the library to change. It's not just a warehouse to collect books, but as a real vibrant part of the community with some great programming and a knowledge laboratory for knowledge creation that people can come to for some of these great programs that we have. We have many programs now, but sometimes they're not the best attended, and I'd like to change that here at the library because we do put a lot of time and effort into programming.
Hopefully, improve our relationships amongst the different departments within the library, also with the academic departments on campus, and with the students that require help and instruction. We also hope to do more with the broader community within New Britain and perhaps beyond in some other surrounding cities and towns.
I would like to see the Excite program help us create a more dynamic working and learning environment in which we model the collaborative creation of new knowledge for our students and for the broader communities that we serve, including the local high schools and the public libraries.
Well, I'd just like to say that I'm really excited about the possibilities of this program and for the training that is offered. We've been working with the downtown campus here at CCSU, working on 3D printing and working more with the high school age community. And we'd really like to continue that and learn some techniques on how to make ourselves better as we reach out to our community.
So thanks for just, watching that. That just kind of gives you an idea. And we were accepted to the program, and we're gonna go to 9 all-day training sessions. So me and the team are in it for the good and the bad to learn. And there's teams from all over the country on the northeast area. Charles County Public Library from Maryland, Hall Memorial Library here in Ellington, North Carolina State Library, Raleigh, North Carolina. Ossining Public Library in Ossining, New York, and Springfield City Library in Springfield, Massachusetts. So we can learn from our public library colleagues together in all of this training, and what we'll do is they'll also give us $3,000 to put on a program. So we hope we can make it more dynamic, and that's what we want to do, to try to break the walls down to the academic library, get more into the community. And I'm trying to show some leadership to get the staff all together and to get them to fine-tune their leadership skills by working together. And there's also, if you wanted to look at it, if you click on the first link, the LibGuides link, that is the Excite transformation for libraries here from the state library. And there's another cohort of team recruitment that they're still going for. What I liked though was one thing that was called the Aspen Dialogue on Public Libraries. If you could click on that link up there, on the Aspen link, it's kind of good if it will open there, because maybe it doesn't open. But again, you could but you didn't even have to click because it's here. This is the Revisioning Public Libraries, and I want to get together with a group actually, and I want to do something for academic libraries, how to re-envision, because we had the Aspen Institute. But it says the time has come for a new vision of public libraries in the United States. Communities need public libraries. More people are visiting them and using their services, materials, and programs than ever before. But communities' needs continue to change. But for us in the academic realm, it's the same thing. So I'd like to be talking to some people, maybe get a think tank together to get some of this dialogue for academic libraries as well as the public libraries, and we can learn from them. So can you turn it to the next slide? So what I call it, go that one. I'm doing some research on this now, with my colleague Randy Ashton Printing, from the board. We're doing an article on how both of our schools, a public academic institution and a private academic institution in our areas, are going outside the walls of our library to work with the communities to kind of strengthen what we have to do. But again, it's less about physical resources and more about innovative programming and community engagement. As a staff, work hard to ensure that the academic libraries of the 21st century satisfy the needs of their campus community by facilitating what I call knowledge creation and inspiring intellectual curiosity and lifelong learning. So they need to look at the educational needs of the surrounding campus communities. So that's what we want to try to research, and we have a lot of good case studies and things that we've been doing at the library that we're gonna report on as well. Next slide. We've done an innovative partnership as well with our Institute of Technology and Business Development. And what our ITBD, we call it, our institute, helps support growing Connecticut businesses and organizations, and they have a professional staff, academic expert, private sector advisors, and government resources. ITBD turns ideas into ventures, aids the growth of existing businesses, and helps Connecticut business community succeed in today's challenging markets. And what it is business incubation. They have space at our downtown campus where if you were an entrepreneur, you had an idea, you could come down there and they would give you the space and you could try to market your idea. Now, what does the library have to do with these people? I met Rick Mullins, who works for our Institution of Advancement at a alumni event that they had in the library. I decided one year, well, we want to show off the library more, so let's have the alumni event. They never had it there before, so they did, and I met Rick and we started talking about this. So we have a very unique partnership because as part of the training that we're doing for the younger students in entrepreneurship, we figured that you have to research a business plan as well. So who could better help than the librarians to research a business plan? We have our librarians that teach the students a session now on coding as well, and we teach them 3D printing and how to use a Raspberry Pi. So this unique partnership blossoms. So can you click on the link right there? And this is not a long clip, but I just wanted to show you another clip about it. If you can go to the bottom of the page, and right there, click on it where community of learners, just to show you this, what we're doing with the trio.
If you have knowledge, you have power. So by us working together, they can provide a lot of the practical learning tools, but we can provide the background.
By collaborating with the Elihu Burritt Library, we have found access to some new areas that we never knew existed.
ITBD was a great partner with us because what we're trying to do is to increase our community engagement efforts.
We are all working together to develop a community of learners, and I think that this is what's necessary in the world today.
TRIO is all about innovation in the 21st century and using 21st century technology and working with students and helping them develop their STEM skills and their innovation skills and to think like innovators.
CCSU ITBD is a convener of the relationships between campus and the local community and organizations within the community.
We have many great resources here in the library that can help partnerships outside of the walls of the library.
We have partnered with CCSU and a number of entities in town to provide a historic context and information about all that happened in New Britain.
We need the business community to keep bringing us these challenges so that we can test the waters with some of these new theories, some of these new practices, and put some of the bright young talent that is emerging from the urban sector to work to help keep jobs here in the state of Connecticut.
We have our innovation lab where we even had lab jackets made right down in the ITBD with the library logo, ITBD logo, and the TRIO program. And we had Congresswoman Esty come down to look at what we're doing, working with the students to teach them STEM skills to get them ready to become the next generation of entrepreneurs. And the library is very much involved in that. And we've tried to go for some grants for that. We haven't gotten one yet, but we think the idea is kind of innovative, and I want to keep working on that to try to bring some more grant funding to the university as a result of that partnership where the library is really involved, and we even want to get the Britain Public Library involved in that venture as well. Next slide. The last couple of things I want to talk about tonight, and I thank everybody for their attention, is something that we did this semester in the library. And I thank Dana because she changed the schedule of this because I had to meet with the graduate school class on Tuesday. But what I did, I wanted to learn about some of the things that we were doing in the library and to really take a leadership role and to think of what we're doing, really satisfying the needs of our patrons in the library. So a communication professor came up to me, Professor Ben Tyson. He teaches a graduate communication course, 507. And what they actually do in that class is he trains the students to do a communication plan. Like they did one semester for the Bushnell. The Bushnell wanted to see how to market themselves better. So he said, hey, why not do the library? So this semester he had a class, he divided it into two. He did half of the class worked on our Center for International Education, because a lot of students weren't taking the trips overseas. It needed really to be reinvigorated. And he also said, well, I could have half the class work on the library. How to market the library better. So I learned a lot of things when they did a report. What they did, they had two focus groups. They did a literature review. They contacted library directors from around the nation as well. They had a faculty focus group and a student focus group. And they also randomly chose 200 undergraduates and interviewed them to ask them about what they thought about the library. And that's why I say all things are not so golden. They don't work out well sometimes, because we got some real honest feedback from this study. And again, it just says, this is the introduction. It concerns the role of the academic library in the 21st century, focusing on issues that pertain specifically to our library. It evaluated students and faculty's attitudes, beliefs, and behavior regarding their past use and future use of the library services at CCSU. And it's going to make us develop a plan for prioritizing and promoting our services with students and faculty. Now, what did they find? I just want to talk to you, because it was very interesting to me what they found, and I'm going to use this with my staff as a leadership tool to get them, reinvigorated, because it's not just me telling them these things. It was actually some good data. They put this to a statistical program, and they presented me with a 105-page report with all the data. And I thought it was very good data. So what they said, some recommendations, was that what we should do is create a Meet the Librarians campaign in order for students to become more familiar with our staff. They said a lot of students didn't know what our staff was doing. We're doing all these great things we're talking about, but it's kind of in isolation. Nobody knows. So maybe little video vignettes, put some posters up, Meet your librarians, get the librarians to get them outside of the walls of the library. And they said we should have an A/B, a print and an online component. They also wanted us to promote our services across the whole campus, not just in the library itself. We got a big, large library, as you guys do here, and we post, we have events, we post them all around the library, but it's go post them all around the campus. Some practical things, but this is based on what students had really wanted from their sample size. Build a strong relationship with our professors, who in turn will encourage library services to students. Students that were surveyed said the professors not telling them about the things that we have at the library. They had no clue that they could come to the library to use all that we had to do. They didn't know that we're turning into a 21st century library. We have all these extra things that we do. They had no idea. Use official CCSU social media accounts and student emails, personal emails, to promote the library. That's what they wanted. We spend a lot of time doing our own webpage and everything, but they said it'd be more convenient for us as a student to go through the main campus web page to see what you guys are doing. Don't maintain your own, because they felt we don't have enough to have our own social media presence. We do a lot, but it's not enough. So they like it connected to that. They like a personal email to their personal student account. Promote student-centered special events at the library. They said to do surveys with students. A lot of students, they found 96% didn't know we had events. Students don't come to the events that we've had. We do a lot of book talks and Friends of the Library things, historical things, but really focus on what they want. They wanted us to do. And the biggest one was to extend weekend hours at the library, because they said students nowadays, some students here, they said maybe Friday night they're good until 8 o'clock, we close 4:30. But they said that the students there, after 8 o'clock they go out, but before then they have some time. Then they're out for the weekend doing whatever. And I was a student, we had a good time back in those many years ago. And then they're back on Sunday, so they wanted longer Sunday hours. And they said, don't just, you want to try to advertise this and just do it as a pilot for, once, do it for a month, advertise it, see how it works, and then get back to it as well. So this really, there's a lot more in the report. I won't bore you guys with the whole thing tonight, but just to show you that as a leadership move, I said, let's do this with this class, and it's great. And one student really liked it, so she's going to do her thesis now. She's going to see how the New Britain community and our faculty, what they need from our library. So she's going to do that and actually do her thesis on this for her master's degree. So it's a lot of good data that we have, and it's hot off the press. I figured I'd integrate it into tonight's talk, because it really shows what we're trying to do. But it's not, and it's very constructive criticism. They said to get our liaison program active. We have one, but it's not really active with the faculty get it more active, let the faculty know, get some key faculty. They would suggest, have a mixer, like food like this for faculty on a Friday night, get them in the library, just to, whoever comes to show them what we're doing now in the library. So it was good, this marketing, and I think even if you're gonna go into public libraries, you could use a kind of tool like this, and we had it in there, and he tells me, Professor Tyson, that if you did this in the private sector with these students, it would cost you about $20,000 for a report like this, that all the time that they took. I mean, there were 6 students worked on it the whole semester, and he had them going. I remember I went to the first class, went to the last class, but they in between, and I gave them my conference room to do a focus group. I provided food for them to do that. They interviewed faculty members. They called library directors from across the country. A lot of our Connecticut library directors they called as well to ask them what are the trends of an academic library nowadays, and we just wanted to see how we matched up. Some of the staff is not going to feel good when they have this because it says that our students are not using our interlibrary loan, which they're not based on the statistics and what they use us for. And we know this because I know it because the money I spend on it, toner and paper, that they're using most of us to scan and to print and to use the computers in the library, and they like Starbucks. But we do a lot more than that in the library, and I don't want to be a computer lab, but I know from this semester, all the money we've been spending on it, they use it like gangbusters, so that kind of validates that information. So can you hit the next slide? And just a quick conclusion, then we can open up to some discussion, because I'd like to hear what you have to think about it. There's still many challenges ahead in bringing our libraries into the 21st century. Library leaders are those who shake up the traditional organizational models. I think if you're going to go into it, you want to shake things up and let people know we're going to do some things differently. Don't just do things because, like when I went to Central, this was here for 20 years. It has to stay that way, but let's kind of shake it up and do some new things. Like the library school, I think you guys are embarking on a lot of new and great things as you go forward. Do not be afraid to experiment with creative and innovative projects that bring the community into your libraries. Main thing, as I talked about before, don't be afraid to fail. I call each new project a pilot, and they have not all been successful. I mean, that data I got, I've been trying 7 years to change some things, and still I haven't changed all that I want to. Maybe we won't, but at least I know I have some data to help me. R. David Lankes, he defines great libraries. I like David Lankes, read him a lot, as places that are transforming. These are all libraries from quiet buildings with a loud room or two to loud buildings with a quiet room. And that's what we have. It's a whole loud building, but the 4th floor is our quiet study oasis. That was one thing people like because of their busy lives, they like to just have a place where it's quiet. And myself, my office is up there, so sometimes the door is open, I'm talking to my staff, and students come in, tell me, please be quiet. It's the quiet study floor, so they can tell the library director to be quiet. They're shifting from the domain of librarians, I like this, to the domain of the communities. That's what we're trying to do at our library. Maybe not the best, but we're trying to do that as best we can. And again, if you go back to the beginning, that triple thread, I think it's good to be a entrepreneur, a technologist, and a leader, and kind of wrap it all up into one to kind of hone your skills, work together as a team. We have it in the book. Michael Crumpton from North Carolina, they have a library and entrepreneur conference that I want to go to. All these librarians doing entrepreneurial things. Our president came to us to a meeting to the library and also told us, well, what are you doing here to make some money? Maybe do classes in the library and charge people to come, like do some genealogy workshops and things, just to try to drum up what can you do in the library to be a little entrepreneurial. And I started a very active Friends of the Library campaign at the library, where we had a foundation. When I started, it was about $500,000. Now we're almost up to $1 million with interest in it. We're getting new donations, doing events for the friends to support the library. We've been giving back, establishing a pipeline, having people come to the library for these events, and hopefully we'll catch that big donation someday that will help. But it enables us the money that I can spend every year, and I've been able to, like this year, I bought a locker that you can lock, and people can put their laptops to charge them in the lockers. I bought archival shelving. We supplemented with books. So with all the interest of the money, it really helps. So we have a whole very active Friends of the Library board with external people in the community, as well as some campus stakeholders as well on the committee. And we try to work with that. And so I can learn. We hosted this year. We always do it central, the Friends of Connecticut Libraries conference, and you can learn from them what they're doing as well to promote their libraries. So I'll open it up to any questions. I'm going to bore you too much with library stuff, but I just wanted to kind of give you a picture of what some of the things I've been doing and researching. And like the next book I want to do is probably work with Charles Harmon to write a book on, breaking down the walls of the academic library and academic library community partnerships to see, what the best practices are and some case studies on that, how it works. We work with the YWCA, the girls this summer, and they had a business program where they taught them entrepreneurship, but we had them also come to the library, learn how to do a business plan. We taught them 3D printing, how to do some coding. So the librarians were really helpful with that program. They really enjoyed that program working together with an external partner. So any questions, comments, or debate?
I have a quick question. You talked a little bit about library connections. Could you talk just a little bit about how your library, with libraries, school libraries, if there's any connection?
Well, part of the goal is to be more connected. And I talked to the library director at the New Britain Public Library, and we had this grant application that we put the IMLS out there. But what we wanted to do was to show how libraries are community centers and how libraries could help with STEM education. So we wanted to have work with our library as a hub with our professors, work with New Britain Public, and have actual parents from the community come with their children to learn some STEM skills. Because sometimes the new parents of new immigrant groups come in and they want to learn the STEM skills as well as their children want to learn it. So we were trying to make a partnership all together for that STEM education with our ITBD business incubation as well. But I think it's a great partnership. We do a lot with the public schools. They come in and and Susan Slager in our Transform video, we give them library instruction. We used to have them from the local New Britain High School. They bust them in. I mean, they showed them all around the campus, but they actually did some of the library, and we helped them with that. We opened up one of our labs, gave them access to our academic databases. They were doing a project on the Constitution. We gave them all our books, and our librarians taught them an information literacy session. So I think it's really great to do that partnership. And I've always partnered in Connecticut with the public libraries and CLA, which has a lot more public librarians than academics. And I think it's just a great thing. And like we're in this cohort, we're the only academic library in the Libraries Transform Library Excite program. We're the only academic library, so we hope to learn a lot and work together more. And I think the partnerships are key, because in every time you have an academic library, you're going to have a public library, you're going to have a school library, and to establish that pipeline, I think is very important. We got a lot of work to do on it, but we're hoping with this Excite program, we'll learn how to do some more innovative programming and work in with the public and the school libraries. Because that's what we want to. That's the name of the game, to work together if we can.
With the experience you have had at Central over the years you've been director, how would you compare the profile of someone entering junior librarian, someone you would want to hire, compared to that same position, or if it existed when you first started, over your trajectory at Central?
Oh, it's changed. It's changed a lot of what we're asking for now. What people are expected to do. It was more traditional a little bit before, but now we're looking into a position where I think I'm going to have funding to go out to search for a digital humanities librarian to actually work with the academic faculty to actually teach the entry-level digital humanities course and to teach. So it has changed. It has changed a lot. But what I try to do as well is kind of mentor my staff. As another leadership thing that I try to do. I mean, I publish with my staff, I present with my staff, and a lot of directors are not doing it. But I want to make sure that I can work with them and learn from them as well, because they have a lot of skills that I don't have, and they're always bringing it to the library. And we have a lot of students. We've had a lot of interns in the past. We hope to get some from Southern with the new program, but I've had them from Simmons, and they've come in like a new library school student who now from Simmons, and she knows all this coding, and some of our librarians have never even heard about the coding. So they're learning from they're learning from each other. So I've seen the changes, and And the biggest thing, what we want to tell people is that they might not be doing what they signed up to do originally. And I've had some problems with that because some people say, well, I had this job description, but sorry, it's just changed because it's not me. I tell them all the time, I'm not the change agent. They didn't put me on library joint picture and say, change Carl Antonucci. It's just changing. The library is changing as we speak, so they have to go with the flow. Now, as you know, we all combined our integrated library system. So now what we can do in the future is we could buy from like one hub and catalog everything and it's gonna make it a whole lot easier. So a lot of these librarians are nervous now because maybe we don't need as many catalogers. But what I do is I need, I need people that are gonna be out on the floor working with the community doing the library instruction. So they might have to shift a little bit. Not that it's not as important, but we can do it more efficiently in one hub, and especially this new system. And we're just starting with the new system. We can tweak it better and make it better, and it's gonna save a lot. Maybe we even do floating collections someday. We return the book to wherever. It's gonna get there. I mean, if it's on the shelves here, it's on the shelves in our place. Where's it gonna go? Maybe work more with the other academic libraries in our consortium as well. Randy Ashton Pretty wants to work UHart. She wants to get in on our system. Some of the smaller academics want to get in on our system. So could we do floating collections? Could we work that way? So to answer your question, they've got to change. I've got to change, and I've got to keep trying to renew my skills as well, because and again, it's not me. It's just things are changing. And the main thing now, the biggest thing that has changed from when we started is we used to have a set amount of money that we got every year. Now my costs are raising on these subscription databases 7 to 8% every year, and I'm getting a flat or a cut budget. So how do I keep up for faculty? And we come to the point at Central where we just couldn't make it anymore, so we had to do a 25% cut to faculty over 2 years on their resources. A lot of them weren't happy, but we had the budgets are just not there. I have to justify myself like everybody else. And the biggest thing I want to investigate, and I could use help from the library school as well to do this. We could do research on it, maybe work together as a community for academic libraries. How does the academic library affect retention? If I could prove that better, I could tell the president and the administration, we all could, well, by coming to the library, these students have done better. We're helping, and we're partners to retain them. And we're starting like a card swipe, like every other area on campus. When you go to the learning center, they have a card swipe, and we have software associated with it that our IT developed, and we can track the students. So we're going to stop putting that at all the desks now. My staff's not going to be happy, but when they go to the reference desk, not just to ask where the bathroom is or can I have a pen, but these questions that are real pertinent, swipe the card and we'll know. Then we can look it up by banner ID, and we can tell that these students, if they come to the library 50 times, maybe their retention has been better. Maybe it's not, but I'd like to try to look into that, because that's going to be the data that I'm going to be able to president say, we've helped you with retention. Now, we need more budget money. Not just because we're nice and, I'm a nice guy. Yeah, I need more money too, but it's tough because everybody's asking for money. As you know, here at Southern, we're asking for money, we're asking for positions, and that's why I tried to do that with the marketing class. That's going to help because it's going to make us better. We have all these resources. How are we best using them to serve the students?
Have there been any studies demonstrating that there is a correlation between visits to the library or engagement with the library and retention?
Well, these students uncovered one, and I've got to do more research on it myself. And I admit I haven't. There's been other things, but I want to. They uncovered one in Europe. That they said that it was a 35% better students that had used the library and visited the library. But I think it makes sense though. But if you could prove that and actually make some sense of it and show over the years that this has helped, it would help the cause for financing. So that's something that the newer people, the people don't understand. Whereas 7 years ago they had said, when I started, they had more. We had the resources to get everything. And people always say, well, Chip Marler used to work. I don't know if you remember Chip. Used to work for us at the library. Oh, when Chip was acquisitions librarian, we had this, but it's not my fault. I'm not just being the Grinch here, but we don't have the money anymore to buy it. So we had and they don't understand because they think the people in our finance, I can buy this table, I buy it one time, I pay for it, but they don't realize these library costs. They give me extra money this year, subscription based. So every year I've got to buy it. Like Elsevier is the big people that we're trying to work with for our Science Direct package, and we're gonna constantly negotiate with them to be able to get it because it's so expensive. And they keep coming and saying, well, it's being used. Well, I know it's great it's being used, we just don't have the money as much as you want. So we finally negotiated a better deal with them now to enable us to maintain it for 3 years. But I have to have an opt-out clause because I said maybe in 2 years down the line, I'm not gonna have the money anymore. So that's the answer. That's a good question, but I think people have to be, ready to change. Some of the roles have really changed. It's gonna keep going. I don't know all the answers to that, but where it's gonna go in the next 5 years. That's why we're trying to just be innovative, try to keep ahead of the curve, try to do the best we can do. But sometimes it's hard. Sometimes you have events and you don't get as many students as you want. We had one on World War I. We advertised everywhere over campus, and the president came, but we had external community members, she's looking for the students. Because she's saying that, you're sponsoring in the library, where are the students? And it's hard to get anytime students come to an event.
Elements about violence and not all educational.
So that's where we are with the leadership, and I think it's just constant learning, and trying to investigate, try to reinvent yourself as you go along to try to kind of keep up with things.
Speaking of constant learning, thank you for helping us continue to
Okay,
learn.
I don't know what all the others. Thank everybody for having me tonight, taking the time, and I always enjoy coming down to Southern to meet with the faculty and the students here. We just hired Matt.
Oh, good.
Yeah, he's going to work with us on the Veterans History project that we're very excited about in the library. We've had that for a while, but the library inherited that, so he's going to be working for us part-time at the library. So we hope to keep the connection going between one of our sister schools and work together to learn from our library faculty as well, and try to maybe do some research collaborations with faculty. Would be good for us to learn from it, and learn from each other with the practical, and you guys with the knowledge here of the research knowledge. Look forward to that, to kind of see where we're going. And again, I'll be calling for answers too, because we all don't have all the answers, and it's always good to have a good group of people to collaborate with. And I thank Dr. Kim for having me be on the board. Whatever little I can contribute, it's not a lot, but hopefully we'll get by that accreditation hurdle. And any help we can do. So thank you for the time, and enjoy the rest of the semester here as you wind down, and we're all crazy busy. Tomorrow I'll be down at the system office, because we got a group on open educational resources, and I'm representing Central. I know you guys have a representative too. I don't know who each of the 17 schools have a representative, so we're trying to help with that in the library to try to get students more affordable textbooks, or so faculty. A lot of faculty don't like that though, because they width in the textbooks. It doesn't work in every class, but we're at least gonna try to come up with some recommendations to try to help anyway, if it can be. So thank you all again. Thank you for the